Hey everyone, Tranzistow back here again. Cheers for joining me. This video is just going to be another bit of a sound design session. I'm going to dive back into Tranzistow here, and I'm going to just basically go into a little bit of my process. I would say, or at least looking at some interesting features of Tranzistow and how I would use them in crafting pads and soundscapes, that sort of thing. I think I did an earlier video where it's probably going to be, I guess it might end up being somewhat similar, but I did want to try and make this a little more focused than the last one, which was a bit more, I don't know, it was a bit loose and more exploratory and experimental. So I really just want to focus in on this video, trying to craft a nice kind of pad sound and unpack some of the interesting features of Tranzistow that I tend to look at and play with when I craft pads, at least in some sense. It's such a deep and dense instrument that I'm not going to be using all the features that you're going to find in Tranzistow. There's definitely a lot in there that you could unpack to like approach crafting pads and sounds in general. There's far too much to even try and, I guess, employ in one particular sound. You know, there's so many different synthesis engines underneath all this that you don't really need to, you don't need to use them all at the same time, to create interesting sounds. So I don't want to keep waffling on too long. I just want to get into it and hopefully show some useful sort of features and maybe some insight into some ideas and what you can do to craft nice sounding pads and soundscapes. So this is the initial sound we get, which is Auxiliary Oscillator 1. I won't waffle on too long about all the different features and facets. If you want a deeper dive, I suggest going back to some of my earlier videos where I unpack it a lot more depth. But yeah, so we've got the sawtooth from Auxiliary Oscillator 1 here as a starting point, and I'm gonna firstly go back to our main oscillator page or tab, because down the bottom we've got all the modules throughout Tranzistow that we might want to work with, and I tend to engage the mixer straight off the bat because it's used and very useful in nearly all the patches that I create anyway. So I turn that on, and then you'll find that you lose the sound once you do that. So you're going to go back to the mixer tab and then select the oscillator that you want, which would be the Auxiliary Oscillator 1, which is what we were hearing. Yeah. Over here you can choose which oscillators you want to work with, and by default we're using the auxiliary oscillators. Now I'm going to go and choose this one of the super saw modes, particularly this one with the pulse and ramp options. So it gives us some of these wave shaping options over here that we can use to just play with the timbre a bit. So I'm going to go back to our auxiliary os page, and first we're going to turn this phase back to -1, so it's not re-triggering each key press. I'm pretty sure that stops the phase resetting exactly when you engage a new voice. So from there, what we can do is click the header to bring up the second page of parameters and give us some more saw voices. Basically gives us the super saw sound. And you can control the amount of detune with this super tune parameter. I don't want that too spread out because it just sounds a bit hectic. Like, it's useful in some cases, but not here. So I just want a nice bit of movement you know, nice sort of phasey effect without too much movement and spread. So back to the first page, I want to start using some Oscillator Sync here as well, just to pull out more harmonics, and this gives us more scope to play with the timbre. Set it at about 0.5. It's a bit hard to do just exactly with the mouse, so we'll just punch that in. You're going to hear that sort of, it's not making a big difference when it's just left there without tweaking the semitone parameter as well. So once we start moving that, we get that classic kind of hard sync, you know, that the screamy harmonic kind of effect. So what I want to do is modulate this parameter with I'm going to use an envelope and set it up as a bit of a sequence. So these envelopes can be, you've got up to like 9 stages here, as you can see, and these can be set to loop, so they basically become like a little step sequence in effect. So I'm going to do that to sort of sequence the harmonics with that sync parameter. So to set it up as a loop, we're going to change some of these stages. We'll turn stage 8 to the release stage, and then the stage 7, which is the release stage, we'll set to stage 1 again, which is the decay stage where it starts. So that should effectively just loop. And then once we've got that, we can set it up in the matrix over here. So envelope 1 will then modulate auxiliary oscillator 1's pitch, like that. Pressing that amount, you can hear that harmonic kind of effect come in. So now we can set the envelope up to step through its stages. Actually, stage 2 here, we want to change it to stage 3 because it's getting stuck at the sustain. Play with the depth. You could go back and tweak the actual sync value here. Punch 5. I'm gonna punch that back in. These values, I want to get them precise, so I'm going to set a step value of 0.25 for each stage. So come on. Yeah, the release stage, you don't need to worry so much because it's not hitting that until you release the key, and it will sort of release over that period of time. The amp envelope we're going to want to tweak as well. So pads, you really kind of generally want to have a little bit of an attack time. I like slow, gradual attacks, so I'm going to increase that one quite high for the attack stage. And the same with the release, you want a nice slow, like, slow release that sort of just gently fades out, you know. And then the decay and sustain stages, what I'll do is bring the level of those down a bit. So when it sustains, it's not quite as prominent in volume, so it's probably a little bit slow coming in there. So decay time can come back down a bit too. That'll do for now. I might fine tune that in a moment. So these are all those. I'm going to turn the breed trigger off. So with this sequence one, it's not going to be offset with each voice. So it's keeping in time. So what else can we do? I think we're going to start putting some more. That's just one oscillator, so we're going to bring in a second oscillator. In mix 2 here, I'm going to use auxiliary oscillator 2. Filter amp tab, we're going to need to bring in amplifier 2. Amplifier 1 down. So we're going to do something similar with oscillator 2. We won't worry about the sync, but we'll go back to the second page and bring up the super saw. Keep the spread actually a bit higher with this, and then we'll bring the level back filter this. Actually, I'm going to filter this first auxiliary oscillator with filter A. So to do that, I'm going to engage filter A, and then on the filter page, in filter B1, we're going to feed filter A, into filter B. By bringing that up. Can't hear that, but I'm going to turn this to bandpass. I'm going to bring the bandpass output up and turn the low pass output down or off, and bring up the second stage so it's actually a 24 dB bandpass. To turn the feedback into this linear mode. Just gives a bit more growl and a bit more character. I'm going to modulate this cutoff, filter A1 cutoff. Again with envelope 1, so that's that sequenced envelope again. So we'll go to filter A1, cut off. turn filter B on this first signal lane back down to a 2-pole. Just sort of darken it, bring that cutoff down. So we'll turn the drive circuit on. Turn that on, and then use the drive. Try and use a sine shaper for the drive circuit. Okay, so some nice humming kind of movement, just nice rich sound there. I think I want to tweak this oscillator, auxiliary oscillator 2. So I'm going to just mute the first amp. So I'm just hearing this mixer 2 with the auxiliary oscillator 2. I'm going to tweak some of these shape values over here. Maybe this pulse width. So I'm going to modulate the pulse width with LFO 1. Right. Auxiliary oscillator 2 pulse width. LFO page will bring the rate of that LFO up a bit. Actually, turn that to a triangle. The triangle is a little more consistent than a sine. It tends to, like a swing, the swing's a little more consistent. It doesn't tend to taper off at the peak and trough that you tend to get with sines. Darken that as well. And then I'm going to actually bring in auxiliary os 3. Detune this one a bit. It's just manually detuning that. And then tweak some of these. So I'm going to bring that up. This filter. Okay, I think I want to drive that the sine shape curve. Modulate this with an envelope again, probably number 3. I think number 2 I'm going to use for this slow pass as well. So we'll set both of those up. Envelope 2 Go to filter B1. Filter B1 cut off. And envelope 3. Go to filter B2 cut off. Oh. So we'll set this up. Slow attack. Slow release again. Too much. So amplifier 1. Now we're going to modulate this filter B1 cut off with envelope 2. Let's set up here. This envelope, we're going to set this up to loop similarly to this, but a little bit differently. So we're going to stage 2 here back to stage 1, so it's just going to go decay stage, sustain, back to decay. So it's going to loop those 3. We'll set the timing to the same, so it's in sync with envelope 1. Put 2.5. Wondering about those voices, like the re-triggering of those envelopes. I'm quite sure it's behaving as I want it, but I think it's pretty close. Like, it seems to be fairly well synced. Anyway, we'll move on. I think it's like pretty close to the point where I want to start introducing a bit of some modulation, maybe some phasing chorus or so, and then some effects with delay and reverb, and then I think it will be pretty ready. We've got a nice sort of bass there to start with, so that's good. So any effects, it's just nice and raw, and it's sounded pretty good, so try the chorus. Turn that up back, I might phase it in. Filter out the super highs and then super lows as well, and as far as those delay tails go. Reverb. I love this reverb, it's really, really nice. I'll pass out the super low end on that. Nice and spacious, very otherworldly. It's sounded quite good. So, yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, I could definitely go to fine tune some of these parameters a bit more. But I'm pretty much there where I wanted to get to, and yeah, I've got a quite nice, rich, dense atmospheric pad, which is what I was going for. I hope it sparks some ideas or insight into how you can approach these sounds as well. You can try and do this with other synths as well, but I really like Tranzistow and crafting sounds with Tranzistow in this sense, because It just sounds amazing, like it really does. So I'll probably leave it there, and if you've got comments or questions or anything, just do feel free to drop us a line in the comments and I'll address those. Yeah, I'm going to try and do some more videos, I think, hopefully coming up, sort of focusing in on more specific types of sounds and stuff, and hopefully sharing some ideas and how I approach some sound design. So hopefully I'll see you in the future, and yeah, till then, take care, and I'll see you next time.